Hello and welcome to another video. I hope you're doing absolutely great today. Today we're going to make an extremely wonderful, misunderstood Italian dish, ragu alla Bolognese. Sometimes people will get something like spaghetti bolognese and think that this is it. This is actually a completely different and extremely delicious dish. Ragu is basically a thick meat stew that is served very oftentimes on pasta, and ragu alla Bolognese is a real flagship of Italian cooking. This comes from the area around Bologna. It is part of North Italian cuisine, so we're going to use butter, we're not going to use olive oil, and you're going to be in for a real treat today. Now, first thing to note is the meat. We have a pound of beef, a half a kilogram of beef, half of that, so a quarter kilogram or half a pound of grounded pork. We have, in this case, this is fairly lean, so I'm adding a bit of lard, and that'll be the meat. For the vegetables, we have 75 grams or so of onions, carrots, and celery, about 50 grams or so of triple concentrated tomato paste. These will be sauteed in butter, and then the whole thing will be stewed first in wine and then in milk. So we're going to use a quarter liter of wine, quarter liter of milk. We'll also season with salt and pepper to taste. So let's get started. So once the pan is just a little bit warm, I'm going to start, I'm going to put the pork in it. And I'm going to slowly stir this and cook it until any liquid that's come out of the pork is evaporated. And then I'll add my lard and then the beef. But I kind of want to start browning the pork before I get that far. So we're going to go ahead and break up the pork a little bit. And then I'll be back when this is moving along. So the pork is now mostly cooked. I'm going to add the lard. And to this, I'm also going to add the beef. And we will continue to stir this. At the same time, I'm also taking this opportunity to finely mince the veggies that I showed you that I'll be adding. Now, if you don't have lard, chicken fat also would work very nicely. There are probably other fats that you could use. Some people even add like some pancetta just to bring up the fat content a little bit. But many of the recipes I've seen don't add pancetta, so and I think pancetta would be really hard to get into the right consistency for this dish. So in that case, I'm just supplementing with a little bit of fat. It would actually be better if you could get ground beef that's a bit fattier. So I'll be back when this is better cooked. So you can see it's mostly done here. There's some liquid pooling up at the bottom. We're going to continue cooking this on a high heat until the meat starts to actually brown. Once the meat starts to brown, then we'll take it off and we'll start with the veggies. So as the meat starts to brown, it's also going to stick a little bit. That's fine. It'll actually come up when we add the butter, because interestingly enough, butter is an emulsion, and so it'll actually work to deglaze the pot. So don't worry if it sticks just a little bit. We don't obviously want big, large amounts burned on. So do stir it occasionally. Also, this is a dish that reheats really well, so I'm going to make more than I'm going to eat today. And when you're ready to reheat it, you'll just add a little bit of milk and, reheat it slowly and it'll be great. This is almost done. So this is about done here. I'm going to turn the heat now down to maybe a little below medium. And I'm going to take this out here. So, just scoop it out. Another thing worth noting here is that not everybody browns the meat separately. Some people just simply add it once they've sauteed the veggies. But you'll get a richer flavor if you brown the meat separately, because the meat will actually properly brown. while if you add it after the veggies, then it's not going to actually brown. So we're just going to grab the rest of this up here, and then I add my butter and the rest. So you can see there's a little bit sticking on. As I mentioned, it's not the end of the world because the butter will actually clean it off. Butter, believe it or not, contains a certain amount not only of milk solids but also milk fluids. And as a result, we can expect that we'll get enough liquid to deglaze. After adding the butter, I'm just going to dump in my veggies. These have all been relatively finely minced. And then I will begin to stir this around. And as we will see, it will deglaze. Now we're going to cook this for about 15 minutes. And then we will add the tomato paste and cook for another 10 minutes. So I'll be back in 15 minutes and you will see how far this cooks down. So now you can see this has cooked down quite a lot. We're going to go ahead and stir in the tomato paste. And you're going to notice this isn't a lot of tomato paste. Now the secret to a really tasty bolognese is in two things. The first is, actually three things. The first is this vegetable mixture here. The second is in using a really good red wine. And the third is in using whole milk for the final process. This is definitely a very, very rich, flavorful pasta. So we're going to go ahead and let this cook again for another 10 to 12 minutes, and I'll stir it occasionally. Then I'll be back. Okay, so this, you could see this starting to brown. Unfortunately, I didn't get a shot of that. But consequently, I've stirred in the meat, and now I'm going to pour in a little over a quarter liter of red wine. And I'm going to just kind of level it out a little bit. And I'm going to let this cook for a couple of minutes before I move this onto the back burner. Now what's really important at this stage is to note that after it cooks for like a minute or so, I want to really keep this at a very low simmer for the next 3 hours. So that's going to be started. We'll start simmering this in just a couple minutes, and then this will be left to simmer for 3 hours. So I have gone ahead and seasoned this with salt like I would a stew, and let it cook for now 3 hours. And now I'm going to add a quarter of a liter of milk onto the top. And then we will let this continue to simmer for another hour. Alright, we shall be back in another hour. And now we're ready to plate. You're going to see that this has this sort of wonderful sort of tawny orange color. And I have some fresh pasta here that we'll be using to plate this. I think this dish goes particularly well with fresh pasta rather than dry pasta. And I think in another one I will go over how to make fresh pasta even without a pasta maker. So I'm just going to take a bit of this ragu and I'm going to put it over the top here. And then from there I can toss it and then scoop it onto a plate and twirl. There we go. And then finally, a little bit of Parmesan cheese, and really Parmigiano Reggiano is the best cheese for this. You can use, in theory, some other cheeses like Grana Padano or similar, but Parmigiano Reggiano is the best. And again, best thing to do is just take a little bit with your vegetable peeler and just peel a little bit off. And here's our basic one. We could top it with, say, a celery leaf or something similar, but in fact, maybe I will do that. And so now I'm just going to garnish this by taking a celery leaf and just setting it on the top here. And here we have pasta bolognese. So this should be really good, and I'm looking forward to the taste test. And now for the taste test. Now, at first my initial thought, first time I made this, was it didn't look like much. But really, this has a really amazing fragrance and flavor that is just hard to describe. The wine, the veggies, even the milk come together in what is really the perfect combination. This is a masterpiece of Italian cooking. Now, if you find this content interesting, I hope I've earned a subscription from you. And you can click the bell to make sure that you never miss another one of my videos. I also look at comments, views, and likes, and trying to determine what you, as part of my audience, want to see more of. So you're welcome to suggest dishes in the comments, and you're welcome to participate otherwise in asking for more content similar to videos by clicking like or sharing or otherwise helping my content reach more people. At any rate, I'd really like to say bon appetit and see you next week.